I'm Amanda, and this is Wellness Me Up. It's where we talk about weird, wise, and just very wildly supportive sides of wellness with amazing humans and coaches that you can actually connect with when you are done pretending that everything is fine in life. Today, I am joined by Jessica Compton, and Jessica offers peer support online or in person through speaking engagements, podcasts, art, her book, going live on Instagram, hiring musicians for mental health events, and so many more things. I've known Jessica for years, so I know that that's just very, like, that's just saying an overview of all the things that this wonderful person does. And I asked Jessica to just sum up their approach to wellness in one or two sentences. And here's what she said: asking yourself, what do I need in this moment? And taking it day by day. So let's hear if what Jessica has to say can help you get a little bit more wellness up. And hello, my friend.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I've watched your episodes grow, and yeah, it's so great to be here. Um, so I just go ahead and emphasize on those two pieces.
I am like
Uh,
very excited that you are here too. Like, so people won't know this before, but we got to have a lot of fun talking before the podcast. And Jessica and I know each other. We've known each other for years, like years. And it's the very first podcast that I ever did was yours. Like I got to be a guest on your podcast,
uh,
and you're over like what are you at? Like over 600 episodes now or something on yours? It's wild.
uh, yeah, I think I'm at like 633 on a pause just because of my book tour, but yeah, just keeping things real and raw, right?
Oh my gosh, that is so good. Amazing. Okay, so I have questions that I ask on this podcast so that way people get an opportunity to get to know you, all the kick-ass stuff that you are doing out there in the world for humans in the wellness space. And I like to start it off and I just chat about the areas of wellness that I focus in on the podcast. There's spiritual wellness, there's relationship wellness, emotional, mental health wellness, there's physical wellness, life transitions and identity wellness, and then financial and purpose wellness as well. So, for people that don't have an idea yet of who Jessica Compton is, they will after this, but let us know what area you support people through and then how you support them on that journey.
Yeah, my focus would be emotional and mental, but I do know that as things kind of unfold and unravel, I find myself helping out in other areas, kind of like ping pong ball back and forth a little bit. But I think the most in probably the 9, maybe 10 years that I've been supporting individuals out in the community is their mental health, where they're at, and other resources that can collaborate with me so that we can support individuals together. But I think the emotional piece too, like everybody is going through something. And we talk a lot about, kids regulating their emotions, but, being an adult almost 50 years old, I'm like, sometimes I need somebody holding my hand. So it's pretty cool to see how, each project that I come up with or that I collaborate with, where I end up in those areas that you've mentioned. I think even just spiritually, I won't mention this, but as an individual who grew up in indigenous culture, like I'm saging all the time, and I tell people even if you sage and it helps by 1% with your mental or emotional support, it kind of blends in. So it's kind of neat how you throw out those different areas. And even if I am sponsoring somebody to go do sound healing or something like that, that yields out to the financial piece, and then it helped out. So it is those topics that you have. I feel like it's like ping pong ball, back and forth into different areas.
It really does, right? Because like one can trickle into the other very, very easily. And with all the ways that you're showing up into the community and doing all the awesome things that you're doing, it's bound to happen. So and like there's so many things that I could just unpack with you on this
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah.
And I know that you're doing the book, and I want to talk about that because it's such an accomplishment to write a book because when you write a book, we were actually talking before the podcast, for everybody, like you won't know what we talked about, but words are just people have these stories, and this is how you started, Jess. And I remember you did this, like you were starting around and you were going to cafes just sharing your story. Like something as simple as like, hey, this is who I am, this is what I was going through. Let's show up, let's do some journaling, let's do this. And now you've literally translated what you've done and put it all into a book. So it's incredibly meaningful that this is what you're working on right now, and you're still out there. You're still now you're going around to the cafes and doing your book tours too. Like this
Yeah,
is so
yeah.
awesome.
You know what? I realized like 10 years ago there was a little bit of a barrier when it came to individuals meeting up that were struggling with mental health issues, but I think that creating, a support system instead of having that continuous barrier. So for me, I was just kind of putting it out in the field. And when you have two people show up in a cafe and then all of a sudden there's 50 people, it shows that the work's being done, but it's the consistency as well. So for me with the book, it was just redoing the whole cafe tour, but just with a book. And people would ask me all the time, have you ever thought of a book? And for me to sit that long is just having a lot of patience with myself, and all the distractions. So when my mom had passed away and I took some time off, I took that opportunity to sit with myself, sit with my old scars, and I it's a quick read, 62 pages, so it's enough for probably 2 cups of coffee and to enjoy some photography and a bit of art as well in there. And in a very compassionate and peaceful way. I know some people consider my story very dark, but there is a little bit of light in there, and it's that continuous healing. And that's why I share my story, is because it helps me, but it also helps other people. And my whole push to this is let's try and get other people to write their story, even if it's ghostwriting, and teaching them that technology piece with the 3 steps that I took. Yeah. So,
So when somebody maybe comes to the cafe and they hears you speak, or they hear you at one of the several speaker opportunities that you have out and about in the world now, the things that you say and the things that you talk about are going to leave a lasting impression on people. They might see themselves a little bit in your story, and they might come up to you after, they might send you a note after. And I know you've done so many journal workshops and things like this too, and just focusing on wellness. So if somebody, and I know also you work with kids,
mhm.
and that's how you and I met. We were child and youth workers like all those years ago, right? And you still work with kids to this day. And so they could just, they get to have the Mrs. C experience, and just they know so much about how you show up in those spaces. But sometimes a kid might approach you, somebody else writing their book might approach you, or somebody might see you at a speaking engagement, and they're feeling a little unsettled, or they're not feeling like they know how to change or how to do something or get their story out there. How do you support them in that moment when they reach out to you for that? Like, how do you meet them in that moment?
You know what? So this past week, I had the opportunity to be out loud, and there was actually an author that had stopped by, and the next day we created bookmarks, and I could hear one of the girls. She was like 12 years old, and she's like, "I'd really like to write my story one day." And I just went over and I showed her my book really quick. I opened it up, and she's like, "Whoa, you're an author?" And I was like, "Well, you can be too." And she's like, "Yeah, I just don't know how." And I said, "Well, there's this app called Canva, and they have templates." Well, the next day she ran up to me and she was like, I uploaded Canva. And I was like, oh. So I think that, we can support other people, even just telling them where to start. My wife, she wants to write a book, and I'm like, you know what, you got to start with just opening the laptop. And if you don't know what you want to say, you can just kind of, I call it puke words, and that's why I even with journaling and stuff like that, just puke the words out, see what it looks like, and if you like the colors, then it's also the local printer, right? Like for me, I never went through, I never pushed it on Amazon yet. I'm not sure if that's even going to happen, but I really do enjoy the physical copies and being out and front with people. And one of my cafes that I stopped at ended up being 10 people in the cafe, and 4 of them were authors, where they were just like, I have my story, it's on my laptop. So me supporting those 4 individuals, me supporting a 12-year-old in the moment, it's like, where is that person at? So even with your podcast, meeting that person where they're at, it's like, who am I going to bump into? There's been cafes that I've been to, and the owner of the cafe will share their story in 15 minutes. I'm like, man, you need to get a book out there. And then it just gets their brain going. So it's just what a wonderful world of books, and putting them on the shelf for somebody else to pick up. So
It's that I always think of that movie whenever I think of this good stuff happening, that Pay It Forward. Because when you're out there and you're sharing your story, you're inspiring other people to go out there and do that too. And they see you doing this. And you, by just like using language that just helps people be like, hey, you can actually do this too. And here's how you do this. Like that 12-year-old little girl, hey, you can, this is a cool platform called Canva. You can actually learn how to use this, and you've probably changed the trajectory of that little girl's path now, because now she's got a tool to start. I remember being that young, I was journaling about this the other night because I started creating a blog for this podcast. Every episode is going to have the blog to go with it. That's something that I've just started recently doing, and I did my very first entry, and I think about me being a little girl when I was 12 years old, journaling and writing in my diaries. And so now you've given her like the diary of Canva, which is like, and I'm like, I wish I had Canva back then. Like it would have been so much cooler than like to put these
instead of the
thoughts
little
together.
instead of the little key that
Use
had
the
the
lock.
little, yeah, nobody's getting in this thing. Meanwhile, you can just open it, but yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So you're out there, you are inspiring people, and you're working now with people on helping them get their stories out there. You're helping them just learn about themselves. So what if is there anything that's like propelling people into their wellness realizations or goals? Like is there any like aha moments that you're finding when you share a particular part in your story, or when you're working with them or sharing with them on how to get their story out there? Is there something that clicks for them, like some sort of shift or moment?
I think the biggest thing is people, I've heard a lot of people say, I'm not ready yet. And I feel like that was me 10 years ago. So it's like, how do we get people ready? And you know what? I think when I sat down with my book, looking at my old scars and reflecting, like, oh my goodness, like I've actually come this far when I thought I only came this far. So opening up those old scars and realizing that, you know, I don't think we're ever really ready. I think we just need to start writing. And if that's, again, I think the protection piece of not releasing family names. I mean, in my book, I just say I have siblings and I have grandparents, but they have their own stories. So I think that whole generational trauma, that's their story. So here's my story. So was I ready to write? I just had that time to myself. And even if it's, you know, writing 10 minutes a day and it takes you 5 years or 2 years. Um, and I mention this all the time, is the safety and security of families' names, or, you know, that not being ready to write their story is, how can we protect that person in writing their story? So if it is a ghostwriter, it's still their story is released in a way, right? So putting that person on tour, I mean, it's, yeah, that's a barrier. And I think that, you know, people when they're ready, they're ready. But I mean, those are clients to me, clients, but also friends, family, neighbors. I don't want to push too hard because I feel like, you know, you don't want to open up cans of worms. I know one of the things I did was I reached out to CAS to get my files, and there was stuff that I read in there. I'm like, I don't remember that happening. So one of the things is receiving the email to say, like, make sure you have a psychotherapist available, because reading these documents from, you know, 40 years ago, now we know my age, you know, it's important just to kind of and be in check with yourself. And that's why I think it's so important that you have this podcast, because even psychotherapists or physicians or consultants, we all got to make sure that our regulation of mental and emotional support is there, and that we're in check with ourselves.
Thank you. I think something that you're pointing on here is just really important, right? Because people can get scared to start sharing about themselves. People can get scared about sharing their own stories. I remember going through like my own journey with cancer, and I thought how scared I was back then to even say the word cancer and to get that out
Mhm.
there. And now when I think about talking about my past and that those missing pieces of the puzzle that have had like that have got me where I am now in my healing and my health and my wellness and all of those things, it's a big thing to think about with where we've been and the people that are also a part of our stories too, because it's our perspective, it's our stories, and it can be very different depending on somebody else's perspectives in that story too. I was actually having a conversation with one of my nieces, and this is actually my very first blog post that I did the other day, and that I'm working on too. Um, I know what it's like to have a sibling as an addict. I know what that's like to have that happen, but I don't know what it's like to maybe have a parent as an addict or those kind of things, right? Two totally different perspectives. Might be the same person, but it's different. It can be very different. So being respectful of that language, not releasing names, all of that kind of stuff, I really appreciate that you're putting that out there, because you're being really respectful to other people as you're still sharing your story, because it's important to share your words and your perspective, but there's also a way that we can do this in a way that's really nurturing and healing to other people too. So yeah, I think.
I think
Mhm.
that there's a piece to my story where I do a lot of thanking. Like I thank my parents, I thank the community. I also thank all of my exes, and my wife knows this, that I had reached out prior in my book, and I went and I thanked all my exes. I reached out to them, and I was like, I just want to say thanks for being a part of my life. Like if I was 25 years old and I was, drinking in the bars and I wasn't mature enough, or I messed up, like, I just want to say thank you. And I'm also like, sorry if you had me in that moment in my life, like that I wasn't, the right person for you at that moment, because whatever I was going through. So I had a bunch of them block me, and that's okay. But I do feel like in my book, it's like, you know what, like I put my head on my pillow now, and I know that I'm at peace with a lot of people. And even if they don't want that peace. And that's why like, even when I sign all my books, I'm like, protect your peace, because when we set our boundaries and we find our peace, we got to protect it, because it's our own wellness that comes back to us at the end of the day, right? Like, are you okay?
The awareness piece that you had to be able to go back and just let people know that you were doing this, that you're working on this, and to then take accountability, those double A's, right?
Hmm.
That doesn't happen for a lot of people, to have that awareness of where I was, where I might have been, how I might have been perceived at that time, going through that. And that's a big part. And then that acceptance, it's almost three. Like you just did three in a row there. It's awareness, accountability, and then acceptance. Because you said, hey, some of those people might be blocking me. They don't want to hear from me because of, where I am in their story or how they're perceiving me. And I have to accept that. I can still sleep at night. I can do this because I know I've shown up with the due diligence I need to and want to do in order to, be respectful to everybody's journeys and the part I played in those too. And so
Yeah.
that's a big, big, big part of healing. Oh my gosh. Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I really, um like, I know that there's like Snapchat, TikTok, and all this and that, but it's nice to close up the technology and just have that feeling of a book. So I was at Niagara College a couple weeks ago, running a journal workshop, and I also, shared that I have my book, and Niagara College purchased a couple books. And um, the cool thing is that, like, my number one thing is just turn your phones off for an hour. So it was super cool to see 60 students be off their phones. And out of those students, there was 9 people that shared. So the stats on 9 out of 60, I mean, that percentage of turning off our phones and journaling and trying to inspire others to write their story or share, or, I felt like one of the students was a musician, and I was like, cool, are you in the Niagara area? So we'll see if we can hire you for an upcoming event. So yeah, there's some cool stuff that happens when you help other people through your own stuff, and you help other people. It shines in different areas, and you just gotta kind of see that piece, right?
One of the questions, so the next question that I usually ask on this podcast is what your clients are usually most surprised by after working with you. But I almost want to change this a bit with you and think, because the way that you just did that, you were like so surprised of learning, and people are learning things about themselves all the time. They can just be surprised with
Yeah.
what they're learning when you give them that opportunity to just disconnect from the technology, the tick, like we can all be out there in social media. People are going to be watching this on social media, but then doing that. So I'm wondering, if there's, and we can ask the question like what they're most surprised by with working with you, but we could also ask if there's things that you've learned about others that's been most surprising as well. Like when you've given that time to just have some time to disconnect.
Yeah, and I always kind of put it out there if anybody has any questions. And most presentations or anything I do, there's not a lot of questions. So I kind of just let them sit with themselves because it is that reflection of like if I am sharing my story or I'm encouraging them to write, I don't think it happens right away, but I do get the emails afterwards if it's 3 days, 7 days. So I think that comprehension piece or letting them sit with themselves on maybe, I don't know, there's also people that say my trauma is not as heavy as yours. And I think trauma is trauma. It's still a story. So, um, and I think the arts too, getting out there with photography or paintbrush is again trying to pull people off their phones and getting in touch with different. I went to actually it was a gallery hop up in North Bay a couple nights ago, and it was super cool. I'm just going to share this in the moment. Is they had a bunch of paddles from the community and different artists. There was probably about 100 paddles, and each paddle the artist had to paint on it, and it was to raise funds for some sort of community event. I'll have to go back and check, but I walked into this gallery. I'm like, look at all these amazing paddles, right? But I was like off my phone. I was in the moment and all I could think about was like art for the next 2 hours. So I definitely think like, a part of the wellness is the technology piece is like, how can we get off our phones for a certain amount of time and go invite ourselves to a gallery or invite ourselves to an event that's, coffee with people. I don't know. I guess that's the ping pong ball piece off that wellness.
It is though, right? Because the beauty of going to do something that helps you disconnect from everything that's going on out there is you actually gain so much clarity after. You have something else more to talk about. You have something more to share. You have another thought that came in or perspective. And all of those things happen because you were able to just go and get creative for a little bit, which is what you do in your journaling workshops and you've done with the paintbrushes. You've done like photography, like with what you do out there to going for photography. And I see the stuff that you do and you get out there and you share with what you're doing, whether it's I'm cooking nutritious meals or I'm going for a nice hike today, any of these things, and you talk about why this is feeling good and why you're doing that, right? And all of that is you off living life outside of the technology world and showing up in those spaces, and it helps with our brains, right, when we get those chances to just be
Yeah.
present.
Hmm.
Oh, so cool. So yeah, I think that is incredibly surprising, and it's weird though sometimes, right? And when we're doing speaking engagements and the crickets happen, we know it, we can call it. Nobody's gonna want to ask questions. It can feel a little uncomfortable and dicey
Yeah.
to do that. Nobody wants to
Yeah.
ask questions. But exactly, we know that afterwards, somebody's going to send a message. Somebody's going to get in there and say, "Hey, what you said really resonated with me." And so it's surprising though, right? To people that might be listening to this, that people don't want to ask questions, but it's what happens. Crickets happen, but then afterwards, when they've had a chance to sit with what you've said, it's still popping up for them. So it's pretty incredible then that people will reach out to you and share what resonated with them about your story and ask questions about where they are in their journey and where they can go next, which is pretty amazing. Hmm.
Yeah, and I mean that's how I ended up with my wife. I was in a speaking engagement, and 4 days later she reached out. I was supporting about her nephew, and then next thing you know, we were on Facebook friends. We both became single, and then dodgeball, and then that was it. But I mean, who knows what kind of email you're gonna get?
It's so amazing. Amy is incredible. I just love this. I didn't know that that's how you met, was through from a speaking engagement. This is so fun. This is
Yeah,
what's so cool. You can have conversations with people that you've known for 10 plus years and still learn something about them. That's very fun.
yeah,
I love
yeah.
that. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this ties in almost very perfectly with what I'm doing on this show because you would never, you said that, you never know what's going to happen from a speaking engagement or where it's going to go. You ended up meeting your wife, like from one of yours. And so wellness, like as we know, one of my favorite lines is that wellness is not linear because we don't know. We can never, like healing is not linear. We don't know what we don't know. We don't know what could happen in this day. I had no idea how our conversation was going to go today. I have no idea what was going to happen earlier today. Now I've lived out today and I know what happened, all of the things, right? But we don't know what's going to happen in an hour from now or any of that stuff. And so wellness can be completely random and absurd and just it's just so ridiculous some of the stuff and other things can go on in our lives that will just, hey, we're coasting along, we think we're so great and amazing, and then boom, like demolition happens and we have to rebuild and rethink things, right? So what I'm doing is I'm spinning this wheel, and it's one of those picker wheels, and I'm calling it wellness isn't linear, what the fuck wheel, like WTF. And we're just going to have ChatGPT. I get ChatGPT to come up with the questions for us. And so we could be talking about anything like really, really deep. Or I don't know, like I was thinking about a snack that I'm going to have later. So we could be talking about snacks that we're going to have from like childhood or something. Who knows what we're going to do? Who knows what we're going to be talking about? But let me, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to share this screen.
I'm
And
a
this
little
is really fun.
nervous.
It's fun. It's hilarious. Trust me, it's fun.
Okay.
And not, and
Okay.
also not, I don't know, we could be talking about really deep things. One time I started talking about a plant medicine journey with somebody on this podcast. Like I have no idea what's going to happen. It's
Love it.
very fun. Okay, let me share this. Can you see it okay?
Awesome. Yep. Thumbs
Okay.
up.
All right. Let's spin this and see what Jess and I are going to talk about. It's like a game show, right?
Yeah.
I know, right?
Love it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So what's your current, this counts as self-care thing? Like this counts, right? Like this counts as self-care. Like I'm gonna do this. Like I'm gonna do this. Like I don't know if this counts as self-care, but I'm gonna say it counts as self-care. This is such a perfect question for as if.
Oh, okay. So, um, we're sharing this public, right?
Yeah, we're sharing this. This is happening. Like we don't have to tell anybody though.
I
We don't
mean,
tell
you know
anybody.
what?
Whoever's listening.
I think like, a good sex life is I had to say it because it's like, sometimes you gotta put that stuff on the calendar. Like it's happening on this day.
Heck, this is what's going on, right? Like exactly. And so I have chats all the time, like sidebar chats with my girlfriends. We've got all sorts of going on. I'm one of the things I do is I coach dating at the Women's Center. It's the spiciest coaching class I ever have. I love it so much. We get right into it. We start talking about sex. We start talking about our relationships, all of these things. We talking about sex positivity and kinks, all sorts of cool, cool things that people are scared to talk about sometimes. But you're right. We have to prioritize. It is self-care. Sex, a
And
healthy sex life is self-care.
you gotta have a
Mm-hmm.
snack after too. You gotta have a prepared snack for after that piece of self-care. You gotta have a snack later.
You do. I agree with
Bur-
this.
Burning the
Yes.
calories.
Yeah, exactly. A go-to snack after. I was talking about this the other day with somebody because I was sharing a little bit about my journey in cancer and all the things and how I didn't have sex for 10 years. And I remember thinking like why people like sex because it hurt me before, it was painful. I didn't love it. And now that I can have sex, I'm like, this is why everybody is out there having all the sex and having all the fun because this is so fun. It's good.
Oh man, using up
So
all the
it
sick
is.
days.
All of them, every single one of them. Have them and make sure you've got a good snack afterwards because it's self-care. Oh, it's so
Okay,
fun. I love
this
that.
podcast is gonna get the most hits for sure.
You know, it's people are like, there was another episode I did, and we were like, okay, Alex Cooper from Call Her Daddy is probably going to be listening
Oh,
in on it this at any point, but it's hilarious. But it is, and it's sometimes a taboo topic to talk about with sex and wellness and all of that kind of good stuff. But hey, we don't get why you are so, we people must look at us and be like, how are you that old? We've got
yeah.
very youthful glows, and maybe that's because of the nice sex lives that we've like made for ourselves in our calendar. Who knows? So you're
And
welcome.
snacks.
Yeah, and snacks. And the good snacks, sex and
Oh
snacks.
man.
I promise not to title this episode Sex and Snacks, but I might.
The S and S. The S and
The S and
S.
S.
What is the S and S?
What is that?
Oh no, it's a secret code
Oh,
now.
I know, right? I'm just gonna be like,
On
how's
the
the S and S?
calendar.
How's the S and S doing? Like, what's going on? Are you getting any of that? I'm
Right?
gonna message you every once in a while. I'll be like, hope you have a really great S and S today. Like,
Right?
don't forget your
That
wellness goals. Check.
that the new cinnamon cereal that's out there. Just kidding. Oh gosh, that's
Oh
great.
my gosh, see, I didn't know what we were going to talk about or how you're going to answer that or any of the stuff.
That's
This is why
great.
the wheel is just amazing. Now you get everybody gets to hear how Jess and I just like we'll just talk. This is what's happening. Oh my gosh,
Awesome,
that is
awesome.
amazing.
Love it.
Oh, so fun. My cheeks are going to be sore after this
Do you know
episode
what?
from
It's
all the
nice to
smiling.
I was
Mhm.
gonna say the wheel kind of gets you off topic a little bit to like get out
Yes.
of your bubble and not so focused on like just this is our chat, but this is out of the bubble and then like refocus. So it's kind of nice.
Kind of like what you do with your art and journaling and all of the stuff that you say to do, get ourselves out of our head a little bit and off
Yeah.
script and just thinking about who we are, what we do. It's just that disconnect, right? It pulls us out. No idea that we are going to start talking about sex and snacks, and that's what just happened on Wellness Me Up. It was so good. I loved it. Ah, see, it
It's
is,
great.
but you're right. It does. It pulls us out a little bit, and it makes us just feel human. Like it's nice. So that's one of my gifts to the world. Everybody's going to be chiming in just to see what happens on the wheel. Like, what are they going to talk about on the wheel? Because it is wellness is like nothing is linear about it at all. I could have never predicted that you and I would be talking about sex and snacks today. Ever, never. Yeah.
I love
So
it.
fun.
Not bad for a Sunday. You know, it's better than Toronto
Yes,
traffic.
I liked it. So much
That's
fun.
great.
Oh my gosh, see, they're going again. It's gonna restart. This is so fun. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I know before people are gonna be like, what were they talking about after the podcast? You'll never know. But before I get off, and I do want to make sure that you can share more about you, what you're offering for coaching, journaling, all the cool shit that you're getting up to. But I'm ending with the last question I've been asking everybody that's doing this podcast is what does wellness me up mean to you in your own words?
Yeah, I would have to say, um, you know, all the things that make me feel good. So I guess that goes back to the other day I was painting on a record. There was old records and we were reutilizing those as pieces to paint on. So it was me getting out of my head and into the painting and then coming back to my head. And, you know, if it was doing some karaoke or if it's doing my check in for how much water to make sure that I'm hydrated because I can get pretty moody. Also, to make sure that I'm not hangry. I know that's a word from back in the day, but I still to this day, if I don't have like a little bit of a snack or something to kind of, you know, have enough calories in me to make it for the next couple hours, or one of the big things my wife and I do is just expressing that like I know people say I need a minute, but I could say like I just need a half an hour. So instead of saying like I need a minute, I don't think it's a minute. I think people do need that 5 minutes or, you know, sometimes a day. You know, a couple of years ago my mom passed away. So sometimes we need a couple of weeks or a year. So I think that wellness me up piece is what works for me in that moment also might not work for somebody else. So keeping those conversations open and clear, um, you know, especially I struggle with ADHD. So my wife might be doing the navigating for traffic and she might have to say turn right 4 times. So I think just being patient, you know, around different different people that have different needs.
Mm. It's reminding me of that phrase, like that self-care and self-first, like are very different things. And what we prioritize in our wellness is different. And also what you're highlighting there is really cool because it ties in that awareness piece. It's communicating what it is that is what you might need for your wellness. So,
Yeah.
oh, that's so beautiful. I just love that. Hmm.
You know, and naps. I don't know how many people out there nap, but you know, now that I'm a bit older, I love to take a juicy nap. And It's not just with one pillow. Like I have to have a bunch of pillows. I have to be in the right spot and turn the fan on. And it's okay. I've realized that it's okay because I can like wake up and go, wow, that was really good. Right? So a good
Mhm.
nap is okay.
Naps are so good. Do you time yourself for your naps or do you let yourself have the marathon nap? Is it a sprint or is it a marathon?
It's honestly, it goes back to one of your questions of like just being in the moment because
Mm.
if I need a nap, I need a nap. Not so much if you're trying to go on a road trip with somebody and then you're supposed to be entertaining them and you fall asleep. So maybe at the right time.
Fair enough. I can't count how many road trips I've been on, and I'm like the only one driving, and everybody else is sleeping and snoring. And I'm thinking, what kind of fucking road trip is this, right? Like, what's going on here? I thought we are supposed to be asking really profound questions to one another.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? One of the things we do is we have a playlist and I'll come up with a song and we'll just kind of bounce off each other and each person has to sing. So it's kind of nice to just sing that song. Even if you're a 4 out of 10, sing the song and everybody else has to listen because it feels good.
This goes into the karaoke piece that you're doing. You're gonna have to send me your go-to karaoke songs. I froze the other night in karaoke because I didn't know which songs to sing. So I'm gonna have to get a list from you. And here, do you have a playlist? Do you have a playlist you can share? I'll have to get some songs from you because I know you put "Girls Just Want to Have Fun" on the Spotify. I was reading that earlier, and I thought, of course, just put "Girls Just Want to Have Fun" on here. This is so fun. I love that.
Yeah, and you know what? I try to get like a good 5, 6 girls up there to sing it because like it's just one of those songs that I don't know if you're old enough to remember Tiffany. I think we're alone
Yes,
now.
yes, I
So
remember
even that
Tiffany.
song, I mean, I can do all the actions and everything, and you tumble to the ground and you put your arms around and
Do you know
feel
what's
like a
fun? I
cheerleader.
remember it like as a I loved Alvin and the Chipmunks when I was a kid, and so I had a Chipmunk CD, and they did a remake of Tip. That's I haven't thought about that in years, but they have it. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna be like, and I'm gonna send it to you, and it's gonna haunt you, and you're gonna be like, why did you send this to me? Like
Oh
this is horrible.
no. Well, I work
I
in
thought it was hilarious.
kindergarten, so I might
There, you can share it. You
bring
can
them
share
through.
it
Yeah.
with the kiddos. Then there you go.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yes, you do work with the kiddos. You do so many cool things. So if people want to get in contact with you, Jess, they want to learn more about you, they want to get you in for a speaking opportunity, if they want to work with you and have you coach them on any of their wellness stuff, creating a book, any of these
Yeah.
things in these spaces that you're getting into, how are they going to get in contact with you?
Yeah, so I have my website, Tria Stars on Tour, Instagram Tria Stars on Tour, and honestly, if you Google my name, Jessica Compton, I'm pretty much found anywhere on Google. I've been in a couple magazines and newspaper articles and all that fun stuff, and many podcasts, and still doing podcasting. So, yeah, basically, just Google my name. But there's also the old school email where we get engaged. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so Tria Stars on Tour.
That I still remember when you created Tria Stars. It was really, really cool. It's so cool. Oh, and it's still going strong, and you're just doing all these awesome things. And I know as soon as I hit end record, there's going to be like, oh, there's always that, oh, I wish I had said that. So if there's anything else that you're wanting to kind of get out there to anyone that might be listening, now is a
I
good time.
Yeah, you know what? I just want to thank you for all the stuff that you do as well, because I know that you're, a person with many hats, and it's a good quality to have because I feel like people look up to you. So whatever you're doing, it's always like, what's Amanda up to? So yeah, just thank you for you.
Thank you for that. Thank you. I do. I like wearing a lot of hats and I like seeing everybody kick ass out there and do some really cool things. And yeah, it keeps me busy too. I've never been diagnosed. And I know a lot of people talk like they always look at me and they're like, "Do you have like something going on there?" And I'm like, I don't know. But I know I like to keep busy and I know I like to see people fucking rock it at life. And I like to be a cheerleader for people. So
Oh,
yeah, thank
love
you.
it.
Thank you. Yeah, so fun. Amazing. Well, thank you for hanging out with me today, Jess. It was so good to see you.
Awesome. And you too. You too. And thank you anybody for listening.
Yes. All right, everyone. So that is another episode. Here's to getting a little bit more wellness up, one episode at a time. We will catch you next time.